like to call the August meeting of the Pitt County Planning Board to order. At this time, we'd like to welcome all in the audience and Commissioner Tom Colson. Glad to have you here. And the Daily Reflector. At this time, we get a roll call, please.
Frank Bradham.
Here.
Jacob Cox.
Here.
Lyman Hardy.
Here.
Thomas Harris.
Here.
Aaron Hines.
Here.
Matt Nobles. Johnny Penner.
Here.
Kenneth Ross.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we received notice that Clayton Malloy Jr., Wanda Harrington, and William Wooten will not be in presence tonight.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Frank Bradham if he would bless this meeting, and after that, Kenneth Ross will give the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stand, please. Our dear Heavenly Father, thank you for each and every blessing you give us every day of our lives. Please bless us as we go about the work of this county, the place we love to live. We thank those that work with us, and we listen to those that want for us to agree with them. And we listen to those who we do not agree with. It is the public's work, and we ask you for guidance each and every day in doing it. Amen.
We'll join in pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, each one of us was sent the minutes of the last meeting in the mail. Do I have a motion we make a change or accept? We got a
Move to approve.
motion?
Second.
Got a second. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay. Planning matter. Matt, you up first, buddy? Oh, James?
Actually, I have one administrative item first,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to bring you up to date on the planning board appointments. And those, of course, are in your package tonight as far as who's rotating off, and wanted to bring you up to date as to what action's been taken since this package was sent out. The commissioners met on Monday night, yes, and decided on 3 of the 4 that were up for reappointment, and the ones that have been changed out, and again, these will take effect at your October meeting, so the ones that are cycling off have one more meeting with us in September. Ms. Faye Barefoot is coming into District C, which is Mr. Bradham's position. Danny Smith in District A is taking Jay Cox's position. Wanda Harrington in District 3, right now we did not have any applications under review for that particular voter district, so that's on hold for the time being. And then Ricky Hines is in District 4. I believe that's William Wooten's position. So again, those that are rotating off go out in September. The new people would come in October, and we would also have election of officers at that point in time.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, Matt.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Have one plan up for approval tonight. Major subdivision. It's Anderson Creek Section 4, Phase 2, preliminary plat. This subdivision is located on Ida and Mary McLaughlin Road at the intersection with Anderson Creek Drive. It's in the Swift Creek Township. 10 lots and 40.3 acres is what's listed as the development, but it's the actual development will be quite a bit smaller than that. It's basically, if you look on this map, the cleared area of the field where everything's outlined in blue. The site's not within the 100-year floodplain. It's zoned rural or residential agriculture. And electricity is provided by GUC, and water is provided by Eastern Pines. Here's a blow-up of the preliminary plat. The area outlined in red are going to be the building sites. There's 9 building lots. Outlined in red, the plan calls for 10 lots, with one of those lots being the common area for the septic systems. This subdivision is going to use off-site septic systems, and here it's outlined in blue. The force mains will run down the narrow area on the behind the building lots to off-site septic areas over on the left. And here's a greater detail of the off-site septic system area. The new building lots are off towards the right of the map, off the map, and you can see the force main lines. There will be 9 of them going from the new building lots behind those lots over to these off-site septic areas. And you can see each lot has an area boxed out for its own septic system and repair areas. Conditions and requirements for the site. Ensure the septic system construction schedule is communicated to environmental health, and that's mainly for the force main installation. Those force mains are put in very close together, so they put them all in at once. They don't have to put in the nitrification lines for the septic system areas, but they do put those force mains in at one time. So they're not going back and digging in and tearing up the force mains that might have been put down before. So, off-site easement documents must be approved by the planning department prior to final plat approval, and that's again to make sure all the easements are recorded in the proper language and everything, so that those system areas can be looked after like they need to be. Additional conditions and requirements on the map. The common area needs to be labeled as non-buildable. The only thing that common area can be used for is for those septic system areas and repair areas, and show the access easements to the off-site septic areas. All lots or all system areas need to have a 25-foot access easement going to each easement area, and add electrical easements as required by GUC. Here's a photo looking at the site facing east. This is standing at the intersection of Anderson Creek Drive, looking head-on towards the site. And you can see in the background at the tree line, that's essentially where all those off-site septic areas are going to be. And then the building lots will be kind of more to the right and in front. This is facing north, back up out in Mary McLaughlin Road. You can see the first section of Section 4 under construction. There's a couple of houses being built right now. This is facing south, and actually this is predominantly where the new building lots will be. And this is facing south down out in Mary McLaughlin Drive. And then this is facing west back down Anderson Creek Section 1. This is the little neighborhood that's in there, the little subdivision that's in there, across the road from the new lots. Technical Review Committee recommends conditional approval, and I'll take any public comment or questions that you have.
Anybody have any questions for Matt?
Matt, I'm got concerns. Is this the first time that we've done this here, the separate system like this?
No, sir. Mr. Ross, it's been a while since we've done any off-site, but back in 08 and 09, this was a fairly common practice. And the environmental health guys will tell you, as long as those system areas are maintained, as long as they're mowed and everything correctly, the systems are fine. They do have the force mains do pump the effluent to the system areas from the house, but it's a fairly common practice, and it's not anything really out of the ordinary.
Well, who's responsible for keeping the stuff mowed and all that?
The way our easement documents traditionally go is the homeowners are responsible for maintaining their own system areas, and we record these notes on the plats so that those easements areas are referenced on the plat and whatnot. I think in the preliminary plat they had initially said it's going to be by a homeowners association, and I'm sure we would be okay with that too, as long as the homeowners association is recorded and duly constituted.
For those that we've done in 2008 and all, you hadn't had any problems with any of them?
No, sir.
Okay.
Actually better, because there's no one gonna put a pool in the backyard on the system, there's nobody driving on it. It's out of the way.
And James made a good point. The reason they're doing this, for any of you that don't know, is the soils on the actual building lot themselves were found to be unsuitable. The soils wouldn't perk or whatever, for whatever reason, and then they found a good soil area back in the area that they're using now.
So there's some safeguards now for the homeowners.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure these homeowners, 'cause I know about these here streets, them homeowners got stuck with some of these streets, and I ain't forgot that. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
it costs a lot of money, and you want to make sure these sewage is an important thing, that
Absolutely.
they're being protected.
And they all do have the repair areas in addition to the main system area. They've all got their 100% repair areas as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Matt, let me follow up on Mr. Ross's question. So the common areas and the force mains, and then, so if I've got a lot in there, I have a force main that's designated to me, and then
Yes, sir.
it goes to,
It's just like you had your own septic system in your backyard, but it runs out a force main and down to a separate area. But it's not, each house has its own easement area.
You still have a septic tank, still got two septic tanks, one of them pumps to the other one, and then it pumps from there to the drain field.
but you might be able to answer this question, but what my concern is, if they're all inlaid together and mine goes out, I'm physically responsible for repairing mine.
Yes, sir. That is
But have
correct.
you got to dig up other people's
No.
lines, and are
It-
these things separated?
Well, the force mains are supposed to be separated at least 1.5 feet apart. And they put, I think, magnetic tape on the lines, they're supposed to anyway. And they're supposed to identify these lines so they can be dug up.
Kind of like Mr. Ross, sound like another street problem, but, so.
They got that problem either way, they got a septic tank in the yard, and the
Yeah,
drain
but I'm
field in the yard, or either
responsible.
they
I
got.
know where my responsibility is in my yard, but I start digging up a force main and I knock my neighbor's force main out, and this thing could multiply, so I'm just, maybe it's not a big issue. I
It
can
hasn't been a
understand.
big issue yet.
Okay,
And I'll just tell you, the planning board, this has probably been 15, 18 years ago, this came upon us. And when we first got hit with these off-site areas, we didn't handle them too well. The subdivision ordinance has been updated to include, as Matt's shown you as far as some of our conditions, access easements, separations of lines, the easement documents. And so between our office and environmental health, this is pretty much the prototype that gets us as good as we're going to get for these off-site areas. Now, the off-site areas, sometimes out of sight, out of mind, if it's not right there on your property, but ideally, you are finding better soils, so the septic system should function better, but there is some maintenance still required, just as if it was on your own personal lot. So just need to keep in mind, there is a maintenance responsibility, and that's all spelled out in the easement document as well.
Force main is just a pump, is that what it is?
Correct.
Yeah,
Pumps in the
Just
yard
pump.
at the tank.
Yours goes,
It
pumps to here and then it pumps.
it's the same thing as a pump system would be if you had your drain field in your yard. You got the pump, the two tanks, when the liquid goes to the second tank, it pumps it to the drain field that is out of your yard.
That's right.
Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Got a second. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All right, thank you, Matt.
Thanks, sir.
James, you're up next, bud.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have several informational items that I'll run through fairly quickly. Just as a follow-up to last month's meeting when you had your presentation concerning our regional hazard mitigation plan, just want to remind you that document is still there for review through September. And on the screen, you can see the web site where you can go to that particular website and view all the components of the plan. Again, this plan covers not only Pitt County and all the municipalities inside of it, but 4 other counties, that being Greene, Lenoir, Wayne, and Jones. So a lot of information, but again, the major intent here is to ensure that we stay in good standing with the state, North Carolina Emergency Management, as well as FEMA. It's vital to have this plan in place for disaster funding if we do have a disaster here at some point.
Mr. Chairman, I've only got 2 more months on this board. I would like for this board to consider asking the county or the county planning department to add to this plan that a study be initiated regarding access of fresh water, especially for Greenville, Farmville, and Greene County. And what the possibilities would be of linking, or at least having the capacity to link the system that's in Lenoir County. I can't think of the name of it.
Noose.
But they're running the lines are running parallel to each other practically. And Greenville only has 1 intake in the Tar River. Right now we have a lot of water, but if we have a drought and that intake dries up, then it would be nice if we could link into an adjoining system. I understand that these things have been discussed over the last 20 years from time to time, but nothing serious has been done. And I would hate for us to end up with an environmental catastrophe and no water available, and all we got to do is link a system that is a 1/4 mile from each other.
The only question concern I'd really have about that was that plant built to handle an additional so many thousands of homes when it was built.
It would give the Greenville system, which now contracts water out to Farmville and Greene County, an alternative to draw water if that system fails, or vice versa. If the system in Lenoir County fails, they would be able to draw water. It's a fallback emergency position. And I would like for it to be studied and at least put down as a contingency. It's never been listed as a contingency for consideration.
To Mr. Bradham, I think the way it's termed is an interconnectivity study of sorts where, again, it may not always, that valve may not be open between the two, but if needed, turn the
There'll be a
handle.
mutual agreement between the 2 water corporations. So,
Thank you.
And I guess I'm looking for direction. If the full board says that, we will certainly put that in as one of our recommendations into the regional plan.
So you put that in the form of motion, Brian?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second? Got a second by Aaron. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Tell you, back when the flood came and working at the hospital, we lost city water for 2 or 3 days, and Bell Alta pulled us out. We were able to tank it, whole tankers from Bell Alta that has saved us. So what he's talking about, they had to shut the pumps down because the water rose up so high. So
Right.
an interconnection like that would really help.
And again, Bell Arthur is one of the members of the Noose Wassa plant, so that stands to reason it would be a good idea. Very good. We'll include that, and I just wanted to make you aware, too, we have a couple of other meetings coming up regarding the plan. Our regional group will meet next week on Wednesday, August 27th, and then another public meeting opportunity in another county. This would be in Wayne County. on September the 3rd, because we do want to get input from some of the other counties that are involved as well. And just as a reminder, we're moving toward adoption sometime early to mid next year. And kind of the push here is our current plan is good through July 2015, so we want to be one of the first ones to get it adopted. Any other questions about that? A few other things, just wanted to bring to your attention. It's in your package, our departmental work program for this fiscal year. Already discussed the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. That's one of our top priorities for getting completed over this fiscal year. Although it's a bad acronym, we do need to administer the HMGP program for one of the properties that we're buying out at Aden Golf Club. And this, of course, is some money, some funding that's come through FEMA and the state to allow us to purchase and remove the home from one of these repetitively lost properties. It continues to flood time and time again, so there are extenuating circumstances where they have to continue to go back and get insurance payouts, as flood insurance payouts, as the home is damaged. So we'll be seeking to purchase that particular lot over the next several months. Several community development programs we'll be administering. The 10-year plan to end chronic homelessness, we're about halfway through that, and if you went on our webpage, you could actually go in and review our midterm report, and that being our first 5 years as to what actions have been taken and what, I'll say, good steps we've taken to end chronic homelessness here in Pitt County. Looking to also update the inspections ordinance and some things that you kind of deal with a little bit on this from time to time. Some of our non-compliant issues with zoning regulations. We're constantly out in the field trying to make sure folks are in compliance, and especially those that are handled by the commissioners, the conditional use and special use permits, ensuring that those people, those permit holders, are also complying with any conditions there. From a recreation standpoint, just so you know, our office also has somewhat been incorporated, or part of our program is to cover recreation in the county. We are finalizing the recreation plan update, and moving into next year, we did get some funding through a special grant to help with the update of the district park, that being Alice King District Park out on County Home Road. So we'll be working on that over the next several months. And several other items in your package, updates, the Judson Whitehurst rezonings, that being 2 of them. Those items went before the commissioners last month, and it was requested that the 2 parties that were having some concerns about it, that being the petitioner and an adjacent property owner, come together to some resolution before it comes back to the board. Most likely this will be coming back to the commissioners for their consideration on September the 8th. There's also been a couple of other grant requests through our office for funding, one being for community development and the other, well, actually both for community development, and this helps Matt with some of the work that he does with homeowners that have some deferred maintenance issues out in the county. And finally, we have our monthly report and some other newsworthy items that Tab is included in your package, and you can always go on our website and see a lot of the current information and activities that we're involved with. So with that, Mr. Chairman, unless there's any questions, that's all we have for tonight.
Anybody got any questions for James?
James, this might need to go before the county commissioners, but out here at the farmer's market, I see they got a tent out there. And over there in Wilson, they got a $295,000 grant from the Gold Leaf Foundation to put a farmer's market on the fairgrounds in Wilson. And all they had to do was furnish a footprint. I don't understand why we hadn't applied for the grant from Gold Leaf to extend our farmer's market and do away with that tent. I'm sure it's costing the county to rent that tent, or did they buy it? Do you know?
I will tell you a little bit of the history about that tent. We wanted to add on to the farmers market as part of a grant that we had through public health. they would not allow us to do anything structurally. So the tent itself was the best we could do. We're not renting it. That is county property, the tent itself. So certainly that's something that could be looked into. The Cooperative Extension Office actually oversees the farmers market. We'll be glad to mention this to them. It sounds like a good possibility for funding.
Yeah, you can contact the Wilson County Fair. They give them a footprint, and they have the farmers market at that fairgrounds every week.
Very good.
That's a nice shelter.
Right. And one other thing I did want to mention is a follow-up item from last month, especially for the members north of the river. The Old River Road NC 222 intersection that we talked about was being upgraded with medians. There was a question about would there be warning signs or approach signs there. There will be. The ones that are there now most likely are going to be replaced with new signs. So again, bringing more attention to that intersection where there have been some serious accidents. So that, Mr. Penner has mentioned, they've already been out doing a little survey work. Hopefully that's going to be installed in the next few months.
If they don't do something, I'm gonna put the signs up myself.
Okay, I'll let them know that.
Put a coffin on the sign, don't
Also-
have
it.
it.
Also read that north of the river's getting on Walmart. That was in the news.
That is correct. That is outside the county's jurisdiction within the city. So yes, that is our understanding. There's a site for one.
All right, anything else? Hear a motion, we adjourn? Motion? Adjourn.